Hey, FlimsyLunchTray here, and welcome to World of Warships for our Saturday upgrade commando build video, which is on the Tier 5 premium battleship USS Texas, a ship of significant historical significance, and is still able to be seen today down in Texas. Maybe she's already at her new home. I haven't checked on that since she went through some repairs, but here in the game of World of Warships, today we're going to go over the armor, the ship in general, the commander upgrades, and so forth. Feel free to use the timestamps below to see any relevant parts of the video that might interest you more than the whole entire video, so to speak. So first off, what kind of battleship is Texas? Is she a brawling battleship? Is she a mid-range battleship? Or is she a long-range battleship? In my opinion, she is a mid-range battleship. She doesn't perform well in the brawling close quarters, nor does she perform well at longer range. Now, it really comes down to her 10 356mm guns. They don't have the best dispersion at range, so it really forces you in mid-range. And I say mid-range at the, let's say mid-tier is like 8 to 12. You'll be sometimes fighting further distances away with her main battery. Her artillery has a 16.4 kilometer range, and like even then I can find the salvos quite frustrating because you have this longer reload time of 34.3 seconds. So basically wanting to make your shots count, as it were. Now, just like the New York, Texas is quite similar in many ways, but one of the things we note about the armor protection is that you have a 31% protection, torpedo protection on Texas, and I'm pretty sure on New York it's 28%, so you have a little bit more resilient to torpedoes, but it's not a big deal. So you have a lot of 19mm, and then you have the 25mm on the side plating. The deck also all 19mm. If we start stripping things away, you'll begin to kind of see as we unpack the ship, unpacking the armor scheme, getting down to this next section, which here it's the casemate armor we have. And we take that away, then we finally get to the Citadel. So the Citadel is above waterline. Citadel extends quite far forward and quite far back. I mean, this is one of their more, excuse me, earlier ships in the game. Normally they kind of cut off like here, but they really extend the Citadel like pretty far on Texas, especially on the forward turrets. So just do be mindful of that. You know, you can see even when we add this casemate armor back in, the ship's just kind of like all glunky is the word that comes to mind when you kind of see how the armor scheme is just kind of everything. I mean, you see it's like the 280 there. And then here on the side, you have the 76mm. So if you find yourself higher tier, then you going up against 4.6s, like basically they cut it through you like hot butter, hot knife through butter. And then getting into the main battery armor scheme, the gun mount armor, we've got 356 on the front, 229 on the side, 203 on the back, 152 on top, and the barbettes are 305. So effectively, it's the top of the turret is the weakest, and then the rear of the turret, which usually that's the norm. The firing angles with these 12 356mm or 10 356mm guns, it's not very good. It's very similar to New York in that sense. So you will have to show a decent amount of side to get all of the rear turrets off. Let's say you're sailing in. So just be mindful of that. Kind of watch yourself so you don't put yourself in this awkward situation and you get punished severely for it. Modular wise, nothing to upgrade. So main battery, reload time of 34.3 seconds. Minimum shell type switching time, 13.7, due to having Halsey as our commander. He has an enhanced skill on gun feeder. We also have 180 turn time of 35.8. This is further reduced by third slot and grease the gears on our commander. Otherwise, it's quite atrocious. I think it's you're up around like 50 some seconds. HE shell damage 4,750. Maximum AP shell damage 9,800. Hull wise 49,100. Of course, we can buff this up with the Charlie Kilo, so that will take us up to 51,600. So I do recommend running that. If you're playing randoms ranked clan battles, it'd be kind of interesting ship to play in clan battles if they ever did clan battles at tier 5. Gunfire control system, you're lacking in range, 16.4. This is made up for it having the spotter, but Texas isn't a long-range battleship, so she's not really worth building the range out more, especially when it comes to the third slot. Otherwise, you'll just be really frustrated with the inaccuracy in terms of the vertical and horizontal dispersion, and just kind of dropping shells all around your target, so to speak. So again, you need to be playing more in mid-range, let's say the 8 to 12 window. Propulsion, 20.5 knots. I think she's a half knot slower than New York. But I do like to take Sierra Mike just to make up for it, and bumping up to 21.5 knots. Something interesting here on the first slot of the upgrades. Now, let's say, I'll show you what I have, then I'll say what if you don't have the coal resources. Maybe you just started playing the game. But first, to start off here, I like running the Damage Control Party Mod 1. Your standard action time on Texas for the Damage Control Party is 20 seconds. And so taking this plus 40% bumps you up at 28-second action time. Now, one of the reasons I think about this is, let's say you're playing Tier 5, but you have Tier 6 submarines. And they like to ping, 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 lock their homing torpedoes on you. And Texas is this very slow, vulnerable battleship, dreadnought battleship, right? So the idea behind here, reason why I run this, because 20 seconds is a good place to start from. Normally you can have like a 15-second action time on battleships. But when we start at 20, we bump it up to 28, and then with the commander skill, we bump it up further, 10% to 30.8 seconds. This is also going to help keep any fires or floods from happening. So it does help, in my opinion, running the Damage Control Party Mod 1. How you see that is you could click on it and it takes you into the customizations upgrades for said ship. So I'll just back out right here, and it's this one here. So normal price is 17,000 coal. If you run the coupon, which resets once every month, it's 12,750 coal, I think. So I do like trying to save some resources there and utilizing that coupon every month. Let's say you've just started the game and maybe you were given Texas for free, or you just bought the Texas and you haven't really accumulated a coal. Then I'd say just do the main armaments mod 1, which reduces the risk of your main battery becoming incapacitated by negative 20%, improves your survivability of those main batteries by 50%, and reduces the main battery repair time negative 20%. These are really the two you're looking at here. For the second slot, I take the Damage Control System Mod 1. This is reducing your risk of catching fire by negative 5% and risk of flooding by negative 3%. So that's definitely helpful to be running here. Otherwise, you have something like Defensive A Mod 1, but as if you saw the videos, the two battles I played yesterday, the Friday highlight clip, which will be at the end of this one, I didn't even have any CVs to fight against, so we never got to use it. So you'll have games where you'll have CVs, but if you have Tier 4 or Tier 6 CVs, like Texas does really, really well against them because she has the best AA strength for all Tier 5 battleships and all Tier 6 battleships. She only begins to drop down at Tier 7. So this help try to reduce the flooding and catching of fire is what I would say. The third slot on American battleships, if you're wondering why you don't see aiming systems mod 1, they took that away because when you get up to the higher tier on the 6th slot, you get to take this main battery mod, or I think it's artillery plotting or something, and it helps reduce your dispersion by I think like negative 11%. So they took that choice away. So then you're not thinking about something like the aiming systems mod 1, which would reduce your horizontal and vertical dispersion by negative 7%. Instead, you're pretty much looking at something like the main battery mod 2. As I said, the 180-degree turn time stock is atrocious on Texas. It's very frustrating. So main battery mod 2 is the ideal choice. Some commanders may consider taking the artillery plotting mod 1, and this is increasing your range on your main battery, but as I've talked about, it's not accurate at range. There's really no reason in my mind to build past the 16.4. So improving your main battery traverse speed by plus 15% means we're able to get to the 180 turn time to a much more manageable area. So I mean, typically you see somewhere around 30 seconds all said and done. So that tells you how bad this is even after a commander with enhanced skill and grease the gears and running main battery traverse here in the third slot. Armament-wise, your high explosive shells, they do 4,750. Now, again, these are 356 millimeter guns, so we pin 59 millimeter armor. The chances of causing fire on a target is 30%. And then with the armor piercing, we have 9,800 maximum damage. And you can see there's actually a difference in the shell velocity. So the high explosive shells have 861 meters a second. AP shells have 792 meters a second. So technically the high explosive shells are a little bit faster. It's really hard to notice, but there's a slight difference here between the two. The depth charge airstrike, it's an 8-kilometer airstrike. You have 1 bomb and payload, 1 available flight, and a number of aircraft in that attacking flight is 1. That reload every 20 seconds. So, you know, when you play the higher tier, you're used to seeing like 2 depth charge airstrikes here. But for Texas here at mid tier, it's just 1. So try to use wisely. Consumable wise, so we see the 30.8 second action time as a result of running the damage control party mod 1, and a quick glimpse real quick running the emergency repair expert, because that gives us a plus 10% duration on our action time of our damage control party. So as I mentioned before, maybe you've skipped ahead, very helpful to deal with submarines who ping if you run into them at tier 6, right? 80-second cooldown time, unlimited number of charges. Repair party, HP per second is plus 258. If we run the India Delta combat signal, we're going to jump up to 309. So if you're playing randoms and ranked, it's good to be running that on Texas. Co-op, not needed. Your consumable action time, 30.8 seconds. So again, with having the emergency repair expert on the commander, we bump up 10%, so from 28 seconds to 30.8. Cooldown time, 80 seconds, and we have 5. Normally you'd have 4, but we have 5 also because of the skill, which I'll show you on the commander here shortly. Spotting aircraft, plus 20% main battery firing range. So those times that maybe you want to get an accurate salvo on a Marblehead over behind an island, or there's not many enemy ships around on your flank and you want to reach out and touch maybe some cruisers or battleships further away, then the spotting aircraft works out really well for you as a 100-second action time. Cooldown time of 240 seconds, and you get 4 of them. I think this blooms your main battery firing range to roughly 19-ish, somewhere around there. So then for me, the spotting aircraft's just fine, as I don't feel any need to run the artillery plotting room mod 1. Keeping in mind, it's, I don't know if I already said this, a 240-second cooldown time. Defensive AA, you have a continuous damage plus 50%, shell explosion damage plus 300%, action time of 40 seconds, cooldown of 80 seconds, and we get 4 of these. So as mentioned, your AA is atrociously good on Texas. So continuous damage is 381, and then the priority sector reinforcement is like 15 seconds. But you might think it's bad because you see it's a 3.5 kilometer AA range. That's true, it doesn't have that long range AA bubble, it's medium and short range, as you can see here. But the damage per second that these things pump out is incredibly strong. So you see damage by short range AA 336, damage by medium range AA 329. So just as an example, let me show you what it looks like on New York. 129.81, and you see a 38 AA rating where it jumps up to Texas to 66. So it's really good. As I said, it's the best among all tier 5 battleships and all tier 6 battleships. You have the strongest AA and only begin to drop down at tier 7. So we do also want to be running November Echo set 7, if possible, right? And that gets our AA rating for 66 to 68, but then you see 381 to 400. So that's really nice to have here. So works really well in running the defensive AA and having that combat signal. As far as other combat signals, there's 4 more we want to run here. We want to take India Yankee to improve our fire extinguishing time. Also Juliet Yankee to improve our flooding recovery time. We want to take Hotel Yankee, damage caused by ramming an enemy, plus 50%, damage received when ramming an enemy, negative 20%. So it might be you find yourself ramming an enemy battleship, cruiser, destroyer, submarine, or maybe even an aircraft carrier, I don't know. So you could get the Die Hard achievement as an example. If they're not running the Hotel Yankee, that's always really funny. You're slow, unmaneuverable battleship, so it's very easy for people to decide just to ram you as well. I also like running November with Foxtrot. This reduces the ship consumable preparation and reload time by negative 5%. So you go from 80 to 76, 80 to 76, 240 to 228, 80 to 76. As far as our commander goes, we are running William Halsey. Now, again, you might be a new player, and this is going to be something that will be out of reach for you for some time. The way you obtain Halsey as a commander, if you're new to the game, is through your profile and not profile, my bad, campaigns. I get it confused because there's commanders in both sometimes. The hit hard, hit fast, hit often campaign. Upon completing the final task, you'll be issued William Halsey with 15 skill points. So don't expect it'll take you some time because of the mission tier requirements like tier 8 and higher. But what he's good with are a few things. One is his talents, the other is the hand skills. So as an example with his talents, if you were lucky enough perhaps to get a Confederate achievement with Halsey, your main battery reload time will drop by -20%. So imagine as an example, if you're so fortunate to get that, to shave 20% off this 34.3 second reload time. So effectively you're taking 7 seconds off, which would be really nice, right? And then you have a torpedo tube reload time buff and a aircraft preparation time buff, but I think that would affect the airstrike for the depth charge, not entirely sure. And if you manage somehow to get a double strike in your Texas, maybe you use a couple barrels to finish off one guy, use your barrels to finish off the other guy, or combination of that in floods or with a submarine or ramming something, your detectability will drop by -10%, and then squadron detectability range -10%. So you'd be coming off of 14 down to 12.6, which would be really nice because you have a pretty big concealment at tier 5 with Texas. The other enhanced skills you have are gun feeder, -60% on the main battery shell type switching time, and the grease the gears, rather than it being plus 20%, it's plus 25%. So that's really nice. There are a couple other commanders that have these enhanced skills. So for example, you have John Doe. He doesn't have the talents though, he just has the enhanced skills. So you could run John Doe. I'm building another one up, I thought. Was it John and George Doe? Yeah, here also. If my memory serves correctly here, I'll go to the armory. I'm pretty sure John Doe is available in the armory, but I could have it wrong. Yeah, John and George. So 35,000 coal or 1,500 doubloons. So you can come and get either of those to help with the enhanced skills. If you so desire. It does help, and it's good even if you're new to the game to invest in one of these guys, because you need to work on getting 21-point commanders, and you can get one starting off at 10 points. But of course, it's up to you. You spend your money how you wish. Now, in terms of the skills for battleships, I'm running this layout. There's probably 2 other possible builds you could do here with Texas. Maybe you could argue another third option. I'll walk you through what I have now for a 21-point build. So we have gun feeder, so that's why you're seeing this shell type switching time, 13.7. Otherwise, it's like it'd be over 15, 16, 17 seconds or more, something like that. So helpful to have when you're switching between high explosive armor piercing. I did that a couple times in yesterday's video. Also, when you have to maneuver your ship and maneuver your main battery turrets on port to starboard, starboard to port, just having them switch much faster at 35.8 seconds is great versus the, I think, Glacier 51 seconds or something around there you start off with. And that Take Adrenaline Rush is a 6-point commander, so then we can help reduce the reload time, 34.3 to 34 to maybe 33.5, things like that. Helping make up for that loss of the damage per minute that New York has over Texas, because New York has a 30.5 second reload time in the same 10, 3, and 56mm guns. So when you look at statistic-wise, New York has a higher damage per minute on the high explosive and the armor piercing compared to Texas, just because purely she can get off more salvos than what you can in Texas. And I talked about some of those differences between these 2 ships in yesterday's video. After that, a 10-point commander, Take Fire Prevention Expert, reduces your risk of catching fire by -10%, your maximum number of fires -1. So if you are new to the game and you're learning, right now without fire prevention, expert, you have fire, 4 fires on your ship, 1 on the bow, 1 on the stern, and 2 on your superstructure. So fire prevention not only reduces your chance of catching fire by -10%, but it also reduces the number of fires, so you go from 4 fires to 3. So 1 on the bow, 1 on the stern, and only 1 on the superstructure. So you don't have 2 fires ticking effectively. So it means you're taking less damage and you're a bit more of a tanky battleship. Fire prevention is pretty much standard on 95% of battleships in the game. There's a few where some exceptions apply, but generally speaking, fire prevention is always a good skill to be running here. So I would say take that. Then after that, for a 14-point commander, as an example, you could go for Consumer Expert, reducing that detectability down by 10%. So you go to 14 by sea and 7.7 by air. Or maybe rather you go for Emergency Repair Expert, so you get that longer last action time on the damage control party and the repair party by 10%, so 2.8 seconds added. So the 30.8 on the damage control party, 30.8 on the repair party. And you also get a 5th heal, rather only having 4 heals. So for me, I'd probably come down here, get these 4 skills first, and I'd probably, for myself as a 14-point commander, get Emergency Repair Expert, 18-point commander, pick up Consumer Expert, and then there's some different instances of how you can decide to use your last 3 points. So here we have improved repair party readiness. Now I have this in general on Halsey because I run him on Wisconsin and 1 or 2 other battleships to get the repair party consumable cooldown time off cooldown faster. So every time your ship receives potential damage equal to 100% of the ship's base hit points, which would be 51,600 right now, 0.8% is knocked off on the cooldown time of the repair party. So right now you see a 76 seconds, you'll start going 75, 74, 73, etc. It depends on how much potential damage you have. So that helps when you're this mid-range battleship and that people will be shooting at you or dumping torps at you, those kinds of things. And if you manage somehow at tier 5 to get 2 million potential damage, a little more easier if you have tier 7 ships shooting at you perhaps, or airstrikes are being dropped on you or around you, then you get another heal, so you go from 5 heals to 6 heals. So that's kind of the perk here, but it's not as easy to get 2 million potential damage on a tier 5 battleship. So just keep that in mind. Other commanders might want to use these 3 points for basics of survivability. It's a very good skill here also to run on Texas, honestly. I was torn between that and thinking which of the commanders did I want to use? Did I want to use one that had an improved repair party readiness or the basics of survivability? Reduces your modular restoration time, or I should say improves it by -15% if you lose a main battery turret, something to that effect. It'll come off of that incapacitation much faster. And it reduces your fire, or improves your fire extinguishing time and flooding recovery time by 15%. So you're putting out fires and floods faster. Also a very good skill to be running here. Other commanders might consider building into her AA, because again, this is an AA, king of the AA battleships at tier 5 and tier 6. So I can probably show you as an example what does that look like. I'm building up another commander right now, American Commander 4, an AA battleship build. So I can show you that. You see, I'll just wait and switch the commanders around, and then you can see what it would look like. Other commanders might want to take these 3 points and say, I really don't like how slow Texas is, and they might consider taking something like Brisk, ship speed by plus 10%. So when you're not detected, granted you have pretty terrible concealment, you'll go 10% faster, so 20.5 or 21.5. So then you'll go up like over 2 seconds or 2 knots more. So pushing up past 23, right? 23 and a half. And then your last 1 point, because this is a 20-point build, 21-point build, take Emergency Repair Expert. Bring down the cooldown time on your damage control party and your repair party by -3%. This skill has good synergy with this skill as an example, right? So you could do that as well if you decided to not go for something else. Like maybe concealment doesn't matter to you at all and you free up yourself 4 points. But this is what I like running. I don't see the need for a brisk here. And either of these two skills are really good. Now, let me just throw Halsey back on my Wisconsin real quick. And then we're going to go back to Texas. And because we have a premium battleship here, we can freely move our commanders off and on. And I'm building up George Doe as my AA battleship commander for American battleships. So here, you're going to see the AA defense jump from 68 to 72. We've now gone from 400 to 460 continuous damage. And I'm still missing out on focus fire training, which will improve the priority sector reinforcement by plus 25%. So you're dealing more damage there. But also here you see the airstrike armament reload time is reduced. Let me check if that is affecting the airstrike. It is. So depth charge airstrike comes off cooldown faster from 20 to 17 seconds. We get number of shells, explosions, AA salvos plus 1. Aircraft preparation time -10. So the only thing this 3-point skill for us on Texas, the only thing it's doing is just improving our priority sector reinforcement. So it's not as great as the 2-pointer skill here, which just gives you that plus 10% on the depth charge damage. So now you see 3,190. And then continuous AA damage to plus 15%, and again, plus 15% on the damage from AA shell explosions. But again, we don't have AA shell explosions here on Texas. And then the fun thing with this 2-pointer skill is that your ship consumables preparation reload time is reduced by -40% whenever your AA is active. So if there's a CV, planes within 3.5, someone's dropping depth charges on you, a fighter, Dutch cruiser or ship dropping airstrike on you, it will help your cooldown time on your consumables. So you'll be getting your damage control party, at least your repair party. Don't quote me on the damage control party. I'm spacing that off the top of my head at the moment. So it's actually pretty good. I'm pretty sure it does affect it, but yeah, I'm spacing right now. So then basically what would I do with the other 4? Let's see, we have 5 points still to spend here. Then maybe I go ahead and take that emergency repair expert, to have that longer lasting action time, and then do something like that. I'm pretty sure this is the route I'm going with my Illinois, perhaps, so that commander. But in instances here in Texas, if you wanted to do like an AA build, then honestly this works out really well. Of course, you could also take the preventive maintenance, which improves your AA mount survivability plus 15%. So if there's a CV striking you, your AA guns are a little bit more tanky and reduces the risk of your modules becoming incapacitated. So either of these would be a good choice. But for the purposes of this video, you're just going to see our Halsey commander on here. So I'm going to call him back onto my Illinois. Come back down here to Texas, and then we're gonna smack Halsey back on top. So this is my 21-point build that in general I'd recommend, but you could have some fun with an AA build as well. Play into the strength of Texas, have more fun with the AA, and be a little AA plane destroying battleship. I wish your AA was like a 5.8 or longer range, because that you just basically you have to beg the CV to strike you. And competent CV players know that, who are playing at tier 4 or tier 6 will know that you have good AA, but let's face it, maybe there's not as many competent CV players at tier 4 and tier 6, so they might just be falling victim to you again and again, and you get to have a little fun with Texas all said and done. So if you liked today's video, give a thumbs up. If you didn't, give a thumbs down. Subscribe if you do want to see more. If you're subscribed, thanks so much. I would appreciate it. Thank you to my Patreon supporters. Until next time, take care.